stream thing.
Cool.
Hey, we're live. It worked. Awesome. What's up, mediums? Welcome to the Writer's Journey, the show where we are on a journey together to learn more about writing success. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Lauren Moore, and with me is thebomb.com, Kayleen Williams. Tonight's show is How to Start a Podcast with Walt Robillard. Robillard? How do you pronounce that?
All of them. Yes,
all of the above. Wait, let me try. Robillard.
That's very nice. How about
nice.
that?
Dig it. Well, Walt is no stranger to startups. In 2004, Walt created Hazard Studio, a place for artists and writers to come together for mentorship in the comics and role-playing game industry. Their flagship title, Supers, is a comic. Supers, the comic book role-playing game, is enjoyed by people across the planet. With pending translations in German, Spanish, and Italian, Supers is a fantastic game that continues to thrill at the game table due to its innovative approach to mechanics and story. In 2006, Walt was invited by Mike Lafferty to speak on the BAMF podcast. He had so much fun, he wormed his way onto the show, eventually becoming a regular host, as well as creating his own content for the shows Coffee and Concepts, the Sci-Fi Showdown, and the Indie Comics Creator Spotlight. He recently panel banned onto the Ask the Editor show with Emily Campbell. Emily, I'm just doing so great tonight. Ellen Campbell.
We'll edit that in post.
Yes, thank you.
Start over.
And has since developed Stockholm Syndrome by massive exposure to pictures of her dogs. Lots and lots of pictures of her fantastic dogs. In his life journey, he started out with an idea, went for it, and calls himself blessed to have worked with amazing people who keep him sane in an insane world. Walt, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for your patience through that intro.
That was fantastic. I loved every bit of it, and don't you dare change. Thank you very much for having me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, how you guys doing? Kayleen, what's up with you?
Well, aside from my panic attack this morning that everyone in the Keystroke fam got to witness,
oh boy.
I'm just gonna. I do back up everything. I really do. I just was so focused on getting this one project done to a certain point that I hadn't backed up yet, and then my laptop wouldn't turn on.
Oh,
I panicked.
Oh,
and then I'm texting Walt, and then we're trying to figure out like how to fix it, and all of a sudden it turned on, scared the holy living daylights out of me. You know, the holy ghost of the PC is what happened. But everything's back. It's all good, and
yes.
I can breathe.
Yeah. I think that's rule number 2 for writers. First one is write. Fingers on keyboards, and rule number 2 is back it all up. Keep it.
Back it up every single day, every hour, if you can. Back it up onto something, anything, stick drive. I don't know, take a picture of it with your phone, anything. Back it up.
That's what you gotta do. And Walt, what's going on in your world?
Oh, I just got out of a seminar. In my alter ego as a mild-mannered nerd, I've been doing martial arts for 40 years, and one of the things we like to do is community outreach, especially in an age where bullies are prevalent. And you see this a lot on YouTube, people putting up bullying videos, and it's disheartening, disconcerting. So we had a nice little seminar, kind of an open house at one of the fighting schools where I train, Rhode Island Self-Defense in Johnston, Rhode Island. We had I had about 30 people there, and they brought their teenagers in, and we gave them some tips and tricks to notice when an altercation could happen, how to evade an altercation, and what to do in the event that an altercation happens. So, plus we got out the mitts and pads and started beating the crap out of each other. So that's always fun. But yeah, nice. It was good.
That's like real life stuff to really help someone change their life. I dig it. That is cool.
Yep.
What about you, Lauren?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
Me, I am in a cabin in Vermont, and my personal pet project right now is there is a chipmunk who lives under the cabin, and I'm going to make him my best friend. I'm working on it. I have cookies. I have bird seed. And I'm sitting outside. with my little lure right there, waiting for him to pop out, and sometimes he does. So we're working on that.
Have you named him yet?
I was thinking Monk, but that is not very creative. So I think I might need to keep on developing my relationship with him and figuring out who he is, who his chipmunk is, and what his name is.
Depending on his personality, it should be either Chip or Dale.
You get a win for that one.
All right, so today we are talking about podcasts, how to start one up. This is a topic that we've gotten on the show requested for again and again. So I'm really excited that you've come on the show. You are part of a number of podcasts. You're starting up a new one with Galaxy's Edge, The Insiders. Yeah. And you've come on the show at Keystroke Medium to help Ellen out with her show and bring a whole lot of life and vibrancy to her show, which is already really excellent. So thanks for joining that. But first, if you'd just like to give us your background with podcasting, what podcasts you run, how you got into it, all that good stuff.
Sure. So back in 2005, in the dark ages when the internet was 2 cans and a piece of string, people figured out that they had something to say, and that this little thing called iTunes were allowing people to put these things that they wanted to say up online. And they were doing it for free. So then suddenly everybody had a platform. Hey, I'd like to tell you about my yarn collection, and then suddenly there was the Yarn Collection podcast, they were coming out fast and furious. And then the sports world got a hold, allergies. The sports world got a hold of it, and then and it just kind of exploded. And right shortly after that time, we had just gotten back from a deployment to Iraq, and my company, Hazard Studio, had just put out several pieces of superhero game lines to support some of the games that were already out there. And this gentleman, Mike Lafferty, sent me a note and said, hey, we'd really like to have you on the show. We're a comic book and role-playing game podcast. We'd love to talk about some of the stuff you're doing. Can you come on? So I did. And shortly after, I met another fantastic gentleman, Chuck Rice, who is a legend in the gaming community, especially for his innovative and very fun backgrounds that he puts in his games. He put out an open call for a contest, and I won the contest, and had me on another podcast, The Accidental Survivors, by a bunch of Canadian guys also talking about games. And I said, I had a lot of fun when I got on these shows and started talking about these things I enjoy doing. I want to do more of this. So I reached out to Mike and I said, hey, if you need somebody to co-host, I'm a former soldier, and I'm really angry and have no sense of boundaries. So I'll ask anybody anything. And the first person I got to interview was a guy named Jim Zub, who is a very famous comic book creator. Right now he's doing Champions. He's very well known for his indie comic called Skull Kickers, which if you're into Dungeons and Dragons or fantasy, it kind of takes that and adds a whole load of comedy to it. It's just brilliant. So we interviewed him, and we did a great job, and I just kept coming back and back. And, I've been through the Skype recording phase. I've been through the YouTube recording phase, now the Hangouts recording phase, and now we're doing this. So it was a fun ride where you get to see all these amazing technological enhancements. And I remember I was so stoked when Google Hangouts was coming out, because it had an auto pass-through key. So instead of having one program which recorded another program, we're trying to stream another program, and everything was kind of getting together and mixed, it was just one thing. All you had to do was get everybody to come to Hangouts, hit the button, and now everybody was talking, and it was fantastic. Red Bull had teamed up with Google, and they did the first live Google Hangout on air at like the big Google conference that they have every year. And they had an athlete, I don't remember his name, but he had taken a weather balloon up to the stratosphere with a internet connected GoPro camera and parachuted back down to earth and was answering questions in a live stream while he was hitting.
What?
The video is still on YouTube. You can still find it. It's probably from like 5 or 6 years ago now. And I just remember, if they can do that, we can up our game with the show. And I wanted explosions. I wanted like dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria, Ghostbusters style. And, we just ended up still talking about comics, but it was very exciting that we could do that in an easy format now. So yeah, that's how I got into podcasting. And, with my love of comics and indie creators, I love the indie comic community because they're so innovative, especially in some of the tricks and tips. There's that English I love so much. In what they do to publish their own material without a giant publishing studio. I loved the innovation and talking to guys who were so hungry and so passionate about what they were doing. So I started my own show at first, which was called the Indie Creator Spotlight. And then from there, I just kept going. And I was very graciously accepted by, the Keystroke guys to help Ellen, because she, I think, is fantastic and a wonderful personality to talk to and a wealth of information. So I was very happy to do that. So, I mean, there's just a lot going on right now in the podcast community, especially as everybody scrambles from the Google fallout. And if Josh is listening, of doom. So, I mean, it's a lot of fun and there's a lot of cool things happening, a lot of innovation. So I'm looking forward to see what comes next.
That's really cool. So like 13 years of podcasting, what does it take to be a really successful podcaster in your opinion? I heard earlier to be able to ask any question, and I'm hearing, jumping out of airplanes, I'm hearing commitment, I'm hearing hard work. So I'd really love to know, what do you think? What does it take to be a great podcaster and one that sticks with it?
I think the more important question is, do you have something that you want other people to hear? Because at the end, we're all really just talking for ourselves. I mean, yes, there are people or audiences, and YouTube and certain other platforms will allow you to monetize. So there are people actually making a living out of doing this, and that's fantastic. But at the end of the day, do you want a job or do you want a passion? Do you want that thing where you put your little headset on, and you have to worry about keeping your dog. Yeah, you say hi. Keeping your dog all happy while you're podcasting, and all this stuff that's going on. Do you want to have to worry about that, or you want to be excited about that? And that's the big thing in the beginning. Get excited about what you're talking about first, right? Have that passion thing. If your thing is, I like yarn, right? Make other people like yarn. Learn to talk about it in a way that makes you excited, because if you're going to be excited about something, most likely that's going to come through when you're talking to somebody else. I mean, if I'm talking to somebody on a podcast, especially about like comics or illustration or anything like that, we have the ability to talk to people across the country and connect with these people who we're fans with. That's something exciting. Get excited about it. So, don't just sit there and go, so what did you do today? It's Tuesday. I mean, sit there and say, hey man, I saw that thing that you did in issue number, whatever. Can you, man, that inking brushing technique was amazing. It's almost like a watercolor gouache. Can you talk about that a little bit? Tell me how you pulled that off. That was sick. Get your audience excited because you're excited, so those are going to be the popular podcasts. Now, the other side of the coin is having podcasts that link into something that is already popular. So, for example, Twitch is huge right now as a podcasting platform, because we've seen the rise of the return and rise of Dungeons and Dragons as a mainstay in popular media. Mostly because they came out with an edition that kind of bridges everything together, but also in the recent years we've had the TV show Stranger Things, which showed it as a fun activity between kids, and it was totally innocent and fun, as opposed to when I grew up. If you walked anywhere with a Dungeons and Dragons book, there were 3 pastors that ran at you with holy water to trying to save your soul. So like, so
yeah, I remember that.
Yep, the Satanic Panic back in the 80s and 90s. So I mean, it was crazy back then. But now it's like this amazing thing. You can't turn on Twitch and not hit a D&D podcast. In fact, there are articles right now, places like Wired and places you wouldn't expect, like Forbes, telling people, hey, instead of starting your own D&D podcast, there's like 3,000 of them. Just promote one of the other ones, please.
Please, for the love of God, watch one of them.
Yes, absolutely. So I mean, you got all these things out there that are linked into something popular. Video games, huge, right? Star Wars. There's a gentleman, and I can't remember his name, but he's got a very popular Star Wars podcast. He comes on twice a week. He produces his own Star Wars fan content and material, and that's his living. That's what he does for a living. He talks about Star Wars. So if you can link into something that's just on fire already and capture some of that imagination, innovation, and superior talent and condense it all down to a few talking points, have a chat going, interact with your fans, get that excitement going and see what you can do. There's a lot of avenues out there to get things and get your perspective on certain things out there. Am I rambling?
No, those are some like really awesome points. Like I'm even taking notes, all the notes, for us. It's like, how can I even up my game, be more exciting,
I think as far as like, I know I have terrible stage fright, but every time in my life, my grandfather was a very influential man, very tall, broad Italian man from Sicily. And he looked almost like James Earl Jones. And I used to point at the screen, and like every time I'd see James Earl Jones, and he'd look at me and say, "Stop being stupid. I slapped the white off your teeth." Right. But I mean, he was very influential as a young man, and pushed that thing, that kind of mindset to say, if you're afraid of something, go at it head on. Don't look at something and say, I could never do that. Say to yourself, what do I have to do to accomplish that? I could never start a podcast. I mean, I have so much to say on Yarn, but oh my God, I don't know technology. I don't know this. I don't know that. Okay, well, there's this thing out on YouTube, and it's got tons of technology and this or that demonstrations on there. Spend a couple of days on YouTube. Learn the procedure of how to do, how to do streaming, how to use your phone as a second camera in the event of they want to see you crocheting, stuff like that. Take a class, ask for advice, go on, because we have it, even though we can be intrinsically evil to each other, there's a huge part of every person that wants to help. And when we see somebody online saying, hey, I really want to do this, can you give me some advice? We're all like, let me slam those keys in protection of your dream. And we get out there and we help, because we want to be part of something new and recap, because we want to recapture that excitement of when we were doing it for the first time. That's why I started Hazard Studio in the beginning, because yeah, you want that charge that you felt the first time you hit the publish button and your name was on something for the first time, and somebody comes to you and says, I could never write a book. I don't know. Well, how many words have you typed today? What? And that's where you go. You capture them and you say, I want you to write 10 words today. I don't care what they are. Just write 10. And then tonight, I want you to read them back to me. And now you've established that partnership with somebody. And as that partnership grows, they get excited. And then you get excited, which reinvigorates your game, which is really what is great about these conversations, because, we have people that you're bringing in for their subject matter expertise. There we go. English again. And you have that expertise that you want to bring in. And it's fun to come in and talk about those things, about how you got in there and how you made it happen, and now you're sharing that with somebody else. And just like when Kayleen said, I'm taking notes, I got like little goosebumps. I was like, yes,
all the notes, man.
This is fantastic. That's awesome. So yeah, when you're trying to get that start, reach out, get that first taste of what you want to produce, but start it with your passion, because your passion has to translate through the screen. I mean, we got this little box right here of a webcam. You could grab your phone. I have a phone around here somewhere, right? You can grab your phone and use that as your webcam. There's all sorts of platforms out there, different ways to podcast, different avenues to podcast. And what you want to do is you want to first start with you, right? So just like I said with my grandfather, if you want something, but it scares you, who cares? You're scared. Big deal. Go after it. You're going to do one of two things. You're going to succeed, in which case you will start to get a little bit of that fear pushing down so that it's not in your way as much as an obstacle as it should be. Or number two, you're going to fail. And in which case, failure is always the greatest teacher, because on the way to you standing back up after you've been knocked down, if you get a life lesson out of that as you stand back up, then that life lesson becomes something you'll never forget. It's a very old Japanese expression: you fall 7, but rise 8. Right. And in that, it's just a reminder that no matter how many times, and in Asiatic cultures, the number 7 is often seen as a divisive number, but 8 is a number of divinity. Right. And what they're saying is life is going to continue to knock you down. You're going to fail. Right. You show me somebody who's never failed, I'll show you somebody who's never tried. Right. So you're going to fail. But when you fail, get back up, learn those life lessons. Hey, you know, when I screwed up that podcast that one day, I was simulcasting to 15 different streams and blah, 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 blew up my computer. The cat caught on fire. Two penguins in the microwave it was crazy, man. But this dude came out to help me, and now we're lifelong friends. I mean, those kind of lessons are things that will teach you how to take those next steps and get into things that really, really push you to the next level. So yeah, as far as like starting goes, start with you. Get that passion going, and always write notes so that when you ramble like I just did, you always can bring it right back around.
Yeah, like,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, that's the thing. Seems to be a common thread in a lot of discussion that I hear with authors, writers. You know, it starts with you. Where are you? What do you like, and what sorts of people do you want to bring in to enjoy what you like and make money with it? You know, and then from there, just freaking drop the TNT and let it explode.
That's the way I was when I first found Keystroke Medium. I was like, wow, these guys are awesome. Look at the passion and the camaraderie, especially because you guys were so supportive of each other. You know, and even in like like on Mondays, you guys are in the chat and you guys are like hammering away the keys and making jokes and bringing your audience in. But at the same time, on these shows, you have once again, you have a chat full of people who are just sitting there and pounding the keys and supporting each other. And that is fantastic. That is a platform that not only do you build a podcast from, but it's a platform to build a community from. And a strong community builds successful authors, and well, successful anything really, but in your case, authors. So I mean, that's fantastic.
So you start with yourself, you start with passion, you start with an idea that you think is going to kind of catch other people's attention. But what if that idea is something that a lot of other people are doing? It is another D&D podcast that is what you're excited about. How do you take that idea and find an angle on it? Or do you need to take an idea and find an angle on it that is more unique or that you think you can bring an extra perspective on? How do you do that?
Well, once again, do you have the passion for the project? Then you should absolutely do it. If for nothing else, if you transition later to another subject, another topic, another type of show, you'll have that experience from your passion project to drive the next project. And that next project will be all the better for it because you cut your teeth on something you love. Now something that's going to be a little more work, it's not going to be as hard because you've already done the hard part. And that hard part was fueled by something that you really enjoyed. So you're going to start another D&D podcast? Right on. All right, let's start with number one. Do you have something to say about it? Is it going to be one of the discussion podcasts? Is it going to be an actual play? Are you going to do system mechanic breakdowns? Are you going to do reviews? Are you going to do all of it? Right. So then once you got that hammered down, how do you want to do it? You know, because if this is your first podcast, you're going to have challenges. Challenge number one, format. And just like T.S. Huddle in the chat just said, does it need to be video? Seems like all of them are video now. And the answer to that is absolutely not. You do not need to be video. There are platforms out there, Podbean, Anchor. There's iTunes still for a little while longer. There's tons of audio-only format that stream right to your phone, listen to while you're driving, doing whatever. A lot of my podcasts Google has a service now where if you're part of their premium service, you can shut the video off so it doesn't drain the battery of your phone. Listen to it just like a podcast, right? And I do that when I walk Balder, my slacker. He's sleeping now. So anticlimactic. Yeah, I mean, you can, when I walk my dog, I have my ear plugged into something and I'm listening to a show, trying to either learn something or be entertained. So, yeah, if you got that thing that's already out there and is already a thing, learn from some of the ones that are out there. What are they doing, right? Do you want to be like them? Then be like them, right? If you want to do something different, right, try to focus on, it's like fighting, right? When we fight, one of the things they teach you early is distraction is everything, right? So if I want to hit somebody in the belly, I'm going to fake to their face because I want them to cover up and I want them to not see where I'm going.
Right.
Now, even though they're protected up high, they can't see what I'm doing down low. And it's the same thing. If you want to do something different, right, see what they're covering and then go somewhere else. So if the majority of the stuff out there is like D&D, like live actual plays where they're actually sitting down and playing the game online, on video, whatever, you can do a review show. Hey, this is the latest, because there are actually very few review shows out there covering non-D&D related products. And there are some amazing products out there that are not Dungeons & Dragons. Mine is one of them. Super's Revised Edition. Super's the comic book role-playing game, not Dungeons & Dragons. Do we have a fantasy edition coming out? We absolutely do. But is it Dungeons & Dragons? Does it play like Dungeons & Dragons? Doesn't have to be. It's our game. It's different. That's why it's ours, right? And it's the same thing for your podcast. Get that review podcast instead. Put review non-D&D related stuff. Review... or go into the mechanics. There's a great show out there called the Marvel Classics Forever podcast. In 1984, TSR, which is the original owner of Dungeons & Dragons, came out with the Marvel superhero role-playing game. It was way ahead of its time. The mechanics were brilliant. The artwork was stunning. The layout was fantastic, and it was super, super affordable. Everybody went out and got that game, right? So 2 years later, they come out with an advanced edition, and dude, it was fantastic, right? We had some epic superhero throwdowns in the backyard while eating pizza and sitting in hammocks and just craziness. That game is still popular today, and they have entire podcasts dedicated to it. And every week they pick a topic, something from the game. They dissect it, bring it back to the comics, show an example of how it was used in the comics, and then show an example of how you can do it on your game table. And it's not a D&D podcast, but they still get 200, 300, 400 hits on each episode. So I mean, and you don't need you don't need a voice like mine. I mean, I have a face for radio and the voice to match. So, I should not be on video. I mean, I look like I've been punched way too many times. And, Irish chin block, right?
That's not true. Audio listeners, you need to go on YouTube right now and watch this.
So, but you don't need the radio voice. You just need to be able to speak legibly. There's a great podcast out there. I listen to it all the time. It's Jocko Willink. He is a former Navy SEAL. Who now equates his military life lessons to business. And he goes around the country and talks about how the two can be intertwined. But he's also a very motivational speaker. He brings people on all the time. And some of them have different accents. Some of them are older with facial deformities due to wartime injuries. They don't always speak legibly. But as long as you know what you need to say and get it out there, rock and roll, man. Do your thing. Get it out there. Be epic, be legendary. And if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly, right? Yeah.
So we're going to ask you about some challenges that you were overcoming through your podcast. But first, it's about halfway through the show.
Sponsor. I just have to say, I am not at all self-conscious of my podcasting ways right now. Sitting here, watching, listening, I'm just like, oh God, anyway. So tonight's episode is brought to you by Johnny Rockett and the Beautiful Six, Book 1 by K.R. McClellan, narrated by Logan McAllister. Ever have one of those days when the most normal part of your day starts with your date being interrupted by 5 gorgeous ladies begging for a ride off the planet, then being shot at by mobsters? You might be on a ride along with Johnny Rockett. Johnny Rockett and the Beautiful Six is a sexy, campy romp through the universe with trouble and sticky situations at every turn. Aria the waitress is unwittingly dragged along for the ride, but quickly proves she is more than just a pretty face. With spaceships and babes, gangsters and pirates, and giant flying whales, what more could you ask for? And what could these girls have done to tick off so many people? To discover how much fun science fiction can be, get your copy today.
Head nod for the win. Yes.
Of doom.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so going back to our topic, we were talking about having passion, having excitement, having a good angle on a topic. What do you need as far as equipment goes? Software, platform use?
It all depends on really what you want to do. The equipment right now is actually pretty progressive. So if you want to go video, I can only speak from my recommendations, and I can also speak from other people's recommendations. My wife off screen is using her military skills to covertly hand me yogurt-covered pretzels. For the win.
It's not covert if you say it.
Well, it was covert. You didn't see it. She was invisible. So the technology out there is actually pretty synced up with what's going on, so that pretty much anybody can start a podcast, which is fantastic. First thing you want to do is you want to learn whether or not you want to do video, audio, or both. Each one comes with its challenges. Each one comes with its own unique set of solutions. I'll do, if it's cool, I'll do like a 60-second burst on each one. That way I'm not going too crazy.
Yeah, go for it.
So audio, you just need, if you're going to use phone as your audio only, just make sure you're close to the phone if you're not using an earpiece. If you're doing, if you're going to do, what do you call it? If you're going to do interviews using your phone, get a good microphone. That way you can pass it between you and the person you're interviewing, and not just keep slapping the phone back and forth because you got this giant piece of plastic coming at their face at 20 miles an hour. People get jumpy, right? So get a good microphone. Also, if somebody is talking in a venue like this on your phone, be cognizant of your mute button. If you're going to use it because you're in a sound-laden environment, make sure that you're quick on that button and keep your screen active so that you're when it's time for you to talk, it's seamless. If you're going to do it from a computer for audio only, all you really need is a really good microphone. The Samscon, I believe it's called. It's let me see right here.
Show and tell.
Oh, it's attached to stuff. Oh my goodness, this is
love show and tell.
So this is the microphone I use to do audio narration and as well as some podcasting. Samson microphone. It's got the largest resonance chamber of all USB mics on the planet right now. They're fairly inexpensive, running in at about $80 to $100. Sometimes you can find them on sale for $75. The little legs close up, so you can screw it right into a stand and put it right next to your face.
It's so pretty.
Right? It's shiny. The other thing, too, is that they draw in. I have 2 cats, one who's blind, who can't see it, and the other one who's just an asshole. And he likes to knock it over, which is why I put the little pop filter on it. I have a regular pop filter, and that's a thing when you're podcasting that you might not hear when you're just speaking. Audio has a tendency to pick up things that are inaudible to the human ear from the range of you speaking. So like the letter P and the letter T. if you're speaking into a microphone like this, you want either something covering the mic, or there are like swing in pop filters that look like a piece of sheer fabric wrapped in a plastic halo. They just keep that pop that comes from you saying the P or T sound from affecting the microphone, so it doesn't sound like you're spitting into somebody's ear.
I was just gonna say, is that like that really god awful sound?
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to avoid anything that's just going to annoy or turn your users off from listening to your voice. Conventions are a whole separate animal. If you're going to be doing interviews at convention, noise is going to be a thing. There's really not anything you can do about that. But if you're going to be doing audio podcasts, try and find a quiet space. Try and not have distracting noises. Sometimes I can't help it because we have animals in the house. One of my cats likes to meow, and it sounds just like saying hello, but it's like creepy, like little child hello.
You have to find the cat now. Where's the cat?
So he's around. He's drinking water right now. I'm waiting for him to fall down the stairs because once again he's blind. So yeah, audio. Then you want to select a podcast recorder if you're going to record the stuff pre-publish. So you're going to record it first, edit it, and then publish it. You can get Pro Tools if you want to spend upwards toward some of the subscriptions can run up toward $1,000 a year. Very expensive, but it's the best audio and engineering thing that you can get. It's not covert if they can see you. But there's for a.
I heard that look she gave you.
They heard the look you just gave me. There's also for a less costly alternative. There's Audacity, which can also do a lot of the editing, and that's open source, so it's free.
And I will say that's what I use for the Podbean for keystroke.
Nice.
We use Audacity.
So once you have your recording tools, once you have your recording and your ability to edit it, if that's your thing, on one of the other podcasts I belong to, the BAMF podcast with Mike Lafferty, we don't edit because we just don't care. We have respectful hosts. Everybody's fun and engaging.
Get it all raw and dirty.
Yeah, raw and dirty. It's the way we like it. So that way it's, it just goes out. Once we're done. It's fine. Whereas some shows, people want that polished, almost studio sound. And that's cool. Rock and roll if that's your jam. As far as streaming services go, Podbean is fairly inexpensive. You can get a Podbean account for as low as like $1 a month. That covers a certain amount of downloads, covers you uploading all of your all of your content there. I think it's 4 times a month at $1. $3 a month you get slightly more bandwidth, stuff like that. And then there are like premium accounts and stuff like that. iTunes, you can upload there as long as you have an account, pretty much for free. There are a bunch of free hosting sites out there, but yeah, once again, especially if you're just starting out. A lot of people, especially like when we first used to start to create websites, people would go for that like free tripod account. It would be tripod dot and then your name. And the second you brought it up, because you had like a 56 baud modem, it would be 3 days to view the web page because there were so many damn ads on it. You want to make sure that you have at least a minimum paid account. So that way, if you're trying to get that show out there, you're not producing something that's going to spam the crap out of somebody. So, get that little bit of enterprise for a price of 1 day of a cup of coffee. Give your brand new users who want to hear what you have to say the benefit of doing it without ads. And then later on, if that's something you want to add in, you can always play with that. Now, video is a whole different box of crackers.
Yeah.
as the Keystroke crew recently found out.
I've dealt with video, number of years ago, and so like I already knew going in the potential fallouts.
Do you have video processing experience?
Oh, teeny bit, a little bit.
So when you heard about the Google's going crazy, you were just like, oh my
I was
stars,
just like, yeah, I was instantly to Lauren like, okay, so if you are not able to download that and in some way get that video to me, you're going to have to let me have all access to everything to download it. Otherwise, this is not going to work. And I'm like, and I don't want to leave you up for, like 5 hours because it could take a long time to download. And anyway, tangent.
Right on. Well, with video, once again, it all goes back to, do you want live or do you want recorded? Right? Recorded is much easier, right? Because there are programs out there that will allow you to do a lot of editing and post-production. So once the camera stops, you can throw it on there, edit the crap out of it, rock and roll, cops and robbers, Dunkin' Donuts, everything's good. So pre-recording is easy, especially if you're going to use a multi-segmented format. You can to handle the video sizes and deal with them a little more nimbly, so that you're not dealing with a 4 gig file and trying to get
like an hour long. I still have to do last week.
you make one change and you're just like, okay, I'm going to go to Hawaii for a week. I'll come back.
Right.
So
please don't go to sleep, computer.
Oh, while it's rendering, yeah, your computer sees the screen is dark and just goes, nah, I'll nap. It's fine. I'm sure the video will be fine once you start me back up again. But yeah, so for a lot of post-processing, I use Corel Video Studio. I'm very familiar with the Corel suite of tools. We use it for graphics processing at my work, and I've been using that suite of programs for a good 10 or 12 years. The latest iteration of it is a little buggy. If you work with very large files, it has a tendency to crash on PC. I haven't seen it crash on a Mac yet, but which is weird because usually it's the other way. It's the other way around as far as Corel goes. But there's that's pretty good. Sony Video Studio is pretty good for post production. And then if you're doing live, live has its own problems. So if you're going to do stuff live where you're sitting down and it's just you, get a good quality webcam. You can get a 720 HD, so that's 720 pixels per inch. You get all those cameras. I'm sorry?
Get all them pixels.
Yes. Let them see your pretty whites. If you don't have them have any pretty whites, let them see your, colorful gums or whatever, but get that down. It was a joke, for God's sakes. My wife's making fun of me. She's saying bad joke. But you can get a 720 video camera right now for about $25. On eBay, if you get it from China, it goes down to like 10. Depending on the technology, I'd rather get the $25 one. But good 720 video camera. They're fairly small, so I have multiple video cameras for when I'm doing like a hangout like this, but I'm also drawing. That way I can have one camera on the one camera main, and I'll put that on the drawing, and then I'll put the lesser value camera on my face because nobody cares about that. So we have this is just a Logitech 720 camera. It's got a little stand and it just clips to the back, and you plug it in and you're good to go. It's a plug and play. There's nothing to install or load. It just goes 720 dots per inch. So I put that on a small stand that's right over here, and then you're good to go. The main one that I have is the 1080p one. And I have the best Logitech camera at 1080p that you can get. It comes with all sorts of crazy software. So you can really up your game as far as your camera goes. You see this a lot with Twitch users. What they'll do is they'll do background replacement. Yeah. So right now you can see my office. You can see my amazing beanbag chair, which is amazing. You can see the using set of my swords back there and a whole bunch of books. So you get that office feel to it, that there's, this is a place where, we talk about stuff. We have comics. We have cats. We have, this is my office, but say you don't want that office experience. Say you want to be in, you're talking about video games, or you're talking about stuff, and you want to be installed in that discussion. You want to be a part of the, Diablo 3 dungeon delve that you're streaming to all your followers, right? So this all gets cut out. If you want to do it really well, you put like a green shade behind you, and it leaves your silhouette, cuts everything behind you out, and then superimposes whatever's on your screen, right?
You know what's amazing about all of this?
Please.
Hollywood is now in our freaking offices.
Right? How cool is that?
You can be Hollywood. Be Hollywood.
Have you guys seen scene 38 through 30? I mean, excuse me, 36 through 38 yet?
Seen what?
So a guy went through and just with some webcams and GoPros and a lot of green screen, they reshot the epic duel between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader from the 1978 Star Wars.
What is this? I'm writing it down.
This scene rendering was so amazing and more in keeping with every other Star Wars movie. It is being heralded for awards. The writing is superb, and how they cut together different scenes and using body replacement software, which you can get on Amazon for like $30. So like, say you wanted my head and my shoulders. Yeah, there we go. Bard of Today, scene 38 reimagined. Say you wanted my shoulders, but you wanted to put Kayleen's head in my video. There is a program, right, you can find on Amazon. It's called body replacement software, and you can do that too easy. And it's usually a plug-in as far as most video programs are concerned. So you can do that kind of stuff too. And even with a 1080p background replacement camera, you're still only looking at $80. You know, if you budgeted a couple of dollars a day, you'll have enough money for that camera in what do you call it? In about a month and a half, right? So they're saying poor Kayleen because you just got your body replaced. But
that's okay. I can kick your ass. I already could, but I could extra epic do it now.
Right. So I mean, there's there's a lot of tools, and as far as like services to handle that video that you're now producing, you have obviously the 800-pound gorilla in the room, YouTube, right? And they have a very in-depth walkthrough on how to stream using their service now, because now you have to use a third-party API or a third-party software to do it. There's that. You can use things like Streamlabs OBS, which is a broadcast studio. It emerged from the video game industry, and it basically allows you to take your camera, put it in one section. You could take this Jitsi Hangout, put it in another section, and then put a big keystroke medium poster in the background. And you could do that as well. And as long as you have the stream key that you can find in your creator's studio on YouTube, you can do it that way. And there's all sorts of tricks and neat things that you can do. The only downside to live versus pre-recorded. With pre-recorded, you can cut a superimpose video so that you can talk about a movie trailer, or you can show that that D&D miniature that you just bought, paid $300 and 40 hours painting. So you can do all of these things with pre-recorded video. In live video, it's a little more difficult. You have to set up multiple cameras, or you if you in the instance of a trailer, things like Jitsi have that built in. You can watch a trailer together with 200 of your closest friends right there, and like all the other windows of people going, "Oh my God," are right around. The downside is when the trailer is playing, all speech is cut out when you're using Jitsi, so you can't actually discuss it while it's happening. But it's still something you can, still something you could actually do with 200 of your closest friends. So yeah, there's a lot out there right now where the technology is caught up, and really all you need to start is a cell phone. I know somebody that just started a podcast, reached out and said, "Hey, I want to talk about this. What's the easiest way, minimum invasive? I want to start today." I said, "Do you have a cell phone?" His answer was yes. I said, "You're going to download a program called Anchor. You're just going to put the app on your phone, and you're just going to hold it up, and you're going to talk about shit, and it's going to be amazing." And now anybody who goes to his Anchor account can just listen to his shows. It's absolutely free to use. I've used a desktop that now streaming from a desktop from Anchor costs some money if you're going over 15 minutes, but from a mobile device, totally free. So I mean, there's lots where the technology, and some people are even excuse me, taking Steadicam allergies again. Cat. There's people are using Steadicams on their cell phones now, so that just like in a movie where people are following somebody while they're moving, like if you're watching a thing on SEAL Team 6, and they have that smooth gun walk that they do, it looks like they're rolling their feet like a duck walk. They do that so that their sight picture never changes when they're holding a rifle. But if you got a camera and you're like, guys, this is amazing, that's going to look like shit on video. So they have Steadicams now for your cell phone, because most cell phones now are recording in at least 720p. So you can get high definition video right out of your cell phone. So yeah, just to start, that's what you got. Okay,
so we have honestly heard so many like awesome, amazing things. I'm like, man, I want to try some of these things, and I'm like, ah, shit, we should probably. That's a lot. So far, we're doing good. I think we're not doing too bad. But there's this question here that I was on and is now gone. So I'm gonna try to remember it. What are, some downsides or hiccups that you've seen along the way, or coming into all of these technologies changing? Especially like Google's changing. This is mixing. That's flip-floppingness.
Biggest problem that you're going to have with podcasting does not come from the equipment. It's people. You set somebody up for a 4:30 interview, car breaks down on the way back from work. Can you do it from your phone? Shit, I forgot my charger at home. So the biggest problems you're going to have with podcasting, seriously, is going to be people. If it's just you, commitment is going to be your biggest thing. Getting that, because we live in the Netflix age, right? If I can watch what's the name of that show that she watches? Oh, if I can watch The Good Witch an entire season in one sitting, or Netflix just produced this TV show about she had an internet TV show about making tasty treats, and they made a giant werewolf Muppet show on Netflix about her cooking. If I can watch that in a single sitting, then I want content every single week, right? And that's how we're being conditioned with all the media that's coming out. I need my new content. Oh, did that episode drop? I need that, blah, blah, blah. So it's the same thing. As far as like podcast hurdles, 99% of the podcast hurdles you're going to get are people. Guests not showing up. Somebody hit a pole and crashed a transformer 2 streets down and blew out your internet when you're supposed to be online in 10 minutes.
Is that a true story?
Yes, had it happen.
Wow. I just felt it. I felt the tension in the everything.
I will send you the picture of the down tree.
Oh,
We had a guest that was going to stream from his hotel room in the Bahamas, and broke his ankle doing like what do you call it? That wakeboarding.
Oh no!
So it was on a wakeboard. Board came out from under him, slammed into a wave, and he just hit it at the right angle, and he broke his ankle. So people are going to be your biggest obstacle when there's a technical problem. 99.9% of the time, there's somebody complaining about it on YouTube. Go to YouTube and look for that guy who looks like this, right? And you're going to he's going to have his headline. My podcast is crapping out because my cat crawled into my hard drive. Wow, my cat crawled. I have that same problem. I'm going to watch this video. And all those things are out there. 99.9% of the time, a technical issue, there is somebody who's already solved it, because there's somebody who probably encountered it 5 minutes before you did. So don't be afraid. YouTube is your friend. Go to podcasting communities and ask. Something like Keystroke Medium. You guys are kind of cool with the podcast thing, right? People might have questions. They can say, hey, Lauren, I know you're technical. How did you get by that whole video thing crashing the other day, right? And just if you don't know, be that good podcast buddy and just sit there and go, I got you, fam. And you're typing, and then all of a sudden somebody hits you back and like, hey, I remember when you had me on that show that time. I loved that. That was fantastic. Let me give you my situation and my solution to that. And, and then you pass it back to that other dude, and everybody's like, thanks, fam. And suddenly you get free advertising because they were like, Keystroke saved my podcast, and you're just like, now now it's good because 99.9% of the time, a technical issue has a technical solution. People,
you know what I just heard out of all of that?
What's that?
Something that we constantly reiterate. Find the people, talk to them, become their friends. Don't
hell yeah
shove your shit down their throat, and they'll help you.
So people are the problem and the solution.
Absolutely.
Oh, humans.
Absolutely.
Tricky people.
Right. So, most problems that you're going to have, the biggest problem we encountered, Google deciding to tell every podcaster on their service to go F themselves. That was kind of interesting. Skype, there's a protocol. It's a network direct protocol that operates Skype. NDP had changed formats in the mid 2010s. I think it was like 2010, 2011. So that NDP recorders, which most podcasters were using back then to record audio, would no longer work. So if you updated your Skype to the next thing, it wouldn't work with the recorder, and nobody had found a recorder to work with the new NDP. So what was happening was everybody was like locking down their systems. No, don't update. So it was creepy.
It's like they want you to buy all new equipment and give them more money.
Yes. So those were like the biggest bombs that we saw.
Well, the other one you kind of mentioned is finances. So we've talked about the cost of the equipment. We've talked about the cost of the streaming platforms that you're using, software, all of that. But we haven't talked about how income can be generated from a podcast. Although some people are making a living off of it. So how can you go from spending money on your hobby to making a living off of your podcast?
Now you're talking the trick question, because, how do I go from changing tires in Mobile, Alabama to talking about my passion for Darth Vader's underwear? There's a couple different ways you can do that. So way number one, there's this new tool that's out there, just launched like 5 minutes ago, called PayPal. I'm pretty sure that everybody knows what it is. But PayPal, you can use that as a setup to kind of poll your audience, and at the beginning or end of a show, during the show, hey, do you like my content? Do you want to support more content? Do you want to make it so that I have two servers running this instead of one, so that I don't look like I had an epileptic with an Etch-a-Sketch create my video? Please donate $1 on PayPal. Thank you. So on Twitch streams, platforms like OBS and Streamlabs OBS is another one. You can put a tip jar link right there. It just looks like either a shot glass or like an actual jar, Mason's jar. They have a couple different ones. The shot glass is my favorite. So
we need to find a space helmet.
Turn it upside down, right on.
Yep.
But yeah, they click on it. It brings them to your donations page, which has a hidden link to your PayPal. So they just hit to donate. They don't actually see your PayPal information. They don't see where the link is actually driving to. They just donate, and then it funnels that money right into your PayPal account. That's one way to do it. Google has their AdSense thing, where ads pop up throughout the broadcast, and you get so many pennies every time an ad comes up. You get more pennies if somebody clicks the ad, and then if they go to the site and buy the thing, you get like bigger fractions of a dollar. You can do that. There is monetizing through YouTube, which has to do with viewership. The ads that come up while you're watching on a banner above YouTube, if you're not a premium user, ads that come up in the middle of the broadcast, what will happen is those ads play and people watch, and it's all well and good. right? Now, if somebody watches to the end of that video, you get a certain monetary denomination. If you only watch half the video and then shut it off right when the ad hits, you get.
Oh, so you're saying like ad? You can skip ad in 5, 4, skip.
Yep, exactly.
I'm losing the money. I'm sorry. But I really don't need to hear about whatever that ad is.
But is your technique for sniping those ads, has that led to increased reflexes for your future career as an axe thrower?
Yes.
That is fantastic. So yeah, so I mean, the longer you watch, the more money you make. So J.R. Hanley has also rightly said that they're thinking about getting rid of that program because they're looking at other avenues to generate revenue. So there's lots of things you can do to monetize. The most successful monetization I've seen, one of my martial arts students is a doughy, big bearded white boy, and he gets paid ridiculous amounts of money to play video games all day. So 2 to 3 hours in the morning he spends with his kids. The next 2 to 3 hours he spends practicing the video game, and then for 2 hours at night he plays the video game, and he's making 6 figures.
What?
Good Lord, man. The skill, though. Like, do you want to sit there that long to know the skill, to have the passion, to sit there?
And he talks to he's got a body replacement camera just like mine, and he sits in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, and he's sitting there slamming keys and playing Fortnite and everything. He's building constructions and tearing others down, and shoot that bazooka over here. And hey, Rob238 from Wisconsin, thanks for the donation, bro. I'm taking this next kill for you. And that's his deal for.
He's excited about it, as you said in the beginning.
Yeah,
people were like, "Yeah, I want to watch that."
All back around, right? So I mean, yeah, yeah. That's why you're a professional podcaster. But yeah, I mean, there's tons of different ways to monetize. My biggest thing though is make sure before you monetize, and this is very important. Okay, there is an old law in the United States that says any revenue that you generate as a hobby endeavor, the first $600 will be tax-free. Anything after that, you must report in your taxes to the IRS, right? So that being said, before you decide to monetize, check with your state and check the federal guidelines on a hobby endeavor, how it's taxed, and what you want to do. Because I know for Hazard Studio, the products that we produce, in the beginning, we were paying our taxes all at the end when we did our income taxes. That hurt a lot. It's a little less invasive if you pay them quarterly, and you just kind of do an estimate of what you think the income, the tax on that is going to be, and then you pay it, and then at the end of the year they give you you missed by like this much. Can we have like 14 more cents? That'd be fantastic, right? So that's the easiest way to do it. But check the local and federal guidelines on taxation of hobby endeavor, because you want to make sure that you're covered. Because at the end of the year, you go and you submit to the IRS, and you didn't get that 1099 from YouTube for your stream revenue, and you didn't report that, you get audited later, you're going to get a big slap in someplace uncomfortable, and it's not going to be happy for anybody. So that's monetization.
So for those in the back, if you just want to do this as a fun thing and not have to bend over every year for the IRS, do not monetize. But if you want to make money off of it, maybe even 6 figures playing video games in your basement, $600, or also check where you are state-wise, what their rules are, and get the people that actually rule our lives their money, so they don't slap you in uncomfortable places, as Walt says.
Yeah, gift of gab, that Walt. Dear Lord. So what else you got? What other questions you got? Feed me.
We got questions from the audience before we started. J.R. Hanley asked, how do you get your voice so dang sexy? Is having a sexy voice a requirement for being
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they have this thing. They have 2 things, actually. They have a guillotine choke and a Darcy choke. Do that twice a week. You'll talk exactly like me.
All right. And your wife did that to you tonight?
Yes, yeah. She we were doing a demonstration for some teens, and she took me down, and I got her in guard, and I'm like, which if you're not familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I take my legs and I wrap them around her hips, allowing me control of her hips so that she can't rain punches down on my pretty little grill. She decided that that wasn't something she was into, which she's a wife, she's entitled. So she grabbed a section of my shirt, wrapped it around. So the tension part of the shirt was around this artery, her forearm was around the other artery, and I started seeing stars, which case I, like all proper husbands, I gave in.
Yay, smart man. Okay, and we also have a question from Anna Johnson. She wants to know about the new Galaxy's Edge podcast you're working on.
Oh my goodness, so much fun. So I was approached by Nick Cole and Jason Onspach to produce a show for them, and I said, that's not good enough for me. I need more because I'm also a fan. I'm a huge fan of Galaxy's Edge. So in fact, I just finished Takeover 3 today, which I'm an insider, so I get the betas before everybody, which is fantastic.
I believe it was you. I saw a post about that. Just freaking bull raving about it.
Oh my God, it was so good. Those guys wrote. Now, there's a scene in most action fiction and cinema called a rabbit chase, and that's when the good guy has to get from point A to point B, but everybody's shooting at this dude, right? And they wrote such a fun rabbit chase, and I'm like, this is some Jason Bourne, Jack Bauer shit. This is brilliant. So exactly. I loved it. So it was really good. But I was a fan, and I said, look, I'm not going to take this to. They wanted me to do a show a month. And I said, no, that's not good enough. This is Galaxy's Edge, man. And not that any of that Star Wars crap. This is Galaxy's Edge with Legionnaires and shit. So, and I'm like, and I told them, I said, guys, I know that for a fact your Legionnaire book has saved at least 2 people's lives. I got to do more than that, right? So 2 of my friends who were kind of on the edge of the suicide thing, and it's a huge problem with suicide in the United States military right now. Guys coming home, not deal with what they're seeing, the level of normalcy coming from a level of chaos, and their only solution is turning the off button, and that's not good enough for me ever. So I gave the book. I said, guys, life-changing experience between these pages, and they were like, yeah, whatever, dude. I'm just gonna sit here with whiskey. And I had one guy literally send me a Facebook message, and he was like, bro, I put down the whiskey after like page 30. This is amazing. And since then he's consumed all the books. But I mean, they did that for friends. Least I could do is give them a quality show. So twice a month, insiders, subscribers will get a unique to them broadcast with either the creators or one of the creators operating in Galaxy's Edge right now. So guys like Josh Hayes, J.R. Hanley, Scott Moon, all these guys that are out there that are producing content for Galaxy's Edge. We're going to have them on the show. We're going to talk to them, and we're going to mind muckle them and pull out all the secrets, right? So after secrets. Yes. So after that happens, we will. The show is always recorded from YouTube, and then also I have desktop recording software for those who are looking to do something like that. It's called Bandicam. It comes from like I believe it's Australia. It's $40 for a lifetime license on one machine, and it allows you to record your desktop. And I use it for recording. Like right now, I'm recording the show in case something crashes. So
look at you being all super prepared and whatnots. Because
it's my jam. So we record it, but only the subscribers have access to it after it airs for 1 month. After 30 days. Everybody can watch it. So, we'll release it to the fans who are not insiders, and then they can watch it and get in on the jam of what's going on and so forth and so on. In the opposite weeks of those 2 times a month of the live show, we are having pre-recorded shows. So on this week's episode, script is right here. We are talking to the Galaxy's Edge Discord moderators about how they got into Galaxy's Edge and what they're doing in the Discord. We got a note from Jason and Nick, and we got some background on some of the art that is appearing in Takeover, and then our special feature. at the place where I train, Rhode Island Self-Defense. We are reenacting the cover from one of the Galaxy's Edge books, where the guy is coming up with the Gomari slaver, and he's got the knife, and he's ready to do a knife takedown. So we are going to reenact that and show 4 takedowns on how that would have enacted by a special operator. So
that's just like cool shit, man. I mean, that's just like, yeah, I have no comment. That's just awesome.
So
Another level.
That's a whole other level. Yes, it is.
Then that will be exclusive to the insiders for also 30 days. And then after that, we'll release it so that anybody can watch it. Because the idea is we want those insiders to feel that they're getting their bang for their buck every month, right? So you're getting the beta copies from the creators. You're getting access to the creators from the insider group. They're always available to talk to everybody. They are 2 of the most gracious authors I've ever met as far as dealing with their fans and answering questions, because they want to be involved. They want to know what's going on, and bromance is right, and they want to know what their readers are thinking of their stuff. Do they like it? Do they not like it? What did they change? I don't know about you, but I'm going to have a life-size Tyrus Rex statue put out in my front yard at this point. So I mean, it's one of those things. But I mean, the other side of the coin is that after the 30 days, the insiders have had that knowledge that a lot of secrets came out in the last one, like things coming up, and we were like, what? And then he dropped, little known secret, Nick dropped somebody's name that he shouldn't have dropped in the show, and the guy saw it and was like, yeah, can you edit that out like now?
do it now. It's fine, whoever saw it, do it now.
So I had to quickly edit that on the fly. So but they'll have access to that fantastic wealth of knowledge for 30 days. And then after that 30 days, we want other people to see how passionate these writers are, how passionate their fans are, because on the pre-recorded segments, we're going to be bringing members of the insider group in, and every episode we're going to talk to an insider, find out how they found Galaxy's Edge, what they think about it, favorite scene, favorite book, and where they'd like to see the series go.
Okay, I just have to. I want to interject just a little bit. I hear a lot of questions from a lot of authors. How do I connect with my audience? You can connect with them through, audio. You can connect with them through podcasting, or you can do something totally out of the box and create insider information, get them in on the ground floor, get them in behind the scenes. There's just the technology in today is makes it so easy if you take the time to figure it out to do all these amazing things. I mean, really, your imagination is the only thing stopping you from doing it.
Right on, absolutely. And I mean, you got guys like Josh used to do his Monday Wednesday show. Connecting just with the fans. Hey, you got a question? Morning Hayes, right? You got a question? I love to talk about Scrivener, blah, 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 right? So, and he would have that show. Scott Moon does. He was doing the Monday Moon for a while, and now he's doing shows on Friday. And I sent you guys, a picture of my dog with 2 of Scott's books. But like, you send stuff like that to them, and they shoot you back and hit you on Facebook Messenger or something like that. And oh my God, I'm so happy you like my books. And you know how big that is for a fan, especially like if you're using a podcast as a way to connect to your audience as an author, right? Hey, look at Chris Fox. Oh my God, the wealth of information that man is giving away. You could pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a degree in at some universities, and instead he's giving it away for free, and thanks to his fans, and hopefully inspiring another generation of authors behind him, right? And that's a great thing about a lot of podcasts that are out there, right? They want you to get that information, and they want you to take it and do something with it, because at the end of the day, having a one-way conversation is just you talking to yourself. It doesn't matter at the end user is getting it and going, that was the most amazing thing I've ever heard, right? That's not the point. We want to connect to people. We want to talk to people. We want to see that our ideas have validity. Our ideas are, when you throw an idea down, it gets fertilized. It takes root. It grows into something positive. And when you engage with your audience like that, it just, boom, it's such a feedback loop. You sit there and somebody like, when the first time I got an email from Jason or Nick, I was like, yes, that's awesome. They actually answered, because you really don't get that in other forms of media. When I had Scott Moon, I signed up for his newsletter. And one of the things that Scott graciously does is he has audio presentations of like the first 2 books of his shorty series. And I love mech stuff. Pacific Rim, horrible, but one of my favorite movies because it's got big giant robots beating the crap out of monsters, right? So, I mean, you love, you hear something like that, and then you type back to the author, hey, the narrator was fantastic. The action was fun. I loved the first person. Amazing job. Thank you very much. And the author hits you back and, hey, bud, really appreciate you reaching out. And then just doesn't give you a form letter, actually asks you questions, what you thought in responding. Oh, mind blown.
But it goes both ways too, because that author spent hundreds of hours, maybe thousands of hours, thinking through their novel, working on it so hard, and when they're doing that, they're just working with themselves, and they're feeding off of their own passion for that book, and sometimes it runs dry. So to get to find out that a perfect stranger who doesn't know you from Adam read your book, it meant something to them so much that they were moved to talk to you, to reach out, that's going to make you write so much harder and keep on going through the next book too. And it works the same with podcasts, with this conversation, with
I mean, it still throws me through a loop when we have a guest, just like our last, one of our last guests, I think it was the last guest, he thanked us through hard times that he was having, listening to us talking about things. And I'm just like, inside, I'm thinking, what are you talking about? But you're welcome. Holy shit, I should probably keep doing this because it helped you. And that made me feel fantastic. And I had no idea.
We had a guy, this gentleman named Heath on the BAMF podcast. And he was going through a real rough time. A member of his family was very sick. And he sent us this brilliant note. It wasn't very long, but it was succinct and it was heartfelt. And all of the creators on the BAMF podcast was like, wow, dude, I'm just floored. And we, from that point, that guy was like adopted fan. We got him. You're the inside track. Anything we can do to help you, bro, we're on it. Right. And I was like, oh man, this is a great feeling, And then a few months later, my mom got really sick, and we just lost her in December. And the whole time I was just like, oh my God, I just need something to straighten my head out. And writing did that for me. The Galaxy's Edge books did that for me. But the Keystroke family did that for me too, because you had all these brilliant creators coming on, all these great shows giving out all this great information. So in between like going to hospice and dealing with family and all this other stuff, you had that one little instance where you get in the car, you turn on the podcast, and you just listen on the drive home, and suddenly things were kind of normal for a minute because you had these great people who you didn't know who were just helping you through that hard time because they were giving you a sense of balance, which is huge, absolutely huge. And I can't thank you guys enough.
See, we're doing it again. Damn it. All right, so with that emotional little bout of I'm not going to cry. We are quite a bit over, but did you have any last minute questions, Lauren?
Just to say, audience, if you're thinking about starting a podcast, this is about that dream that you have and about what you might want to accomplish. Kayleen and I, we actually weren't interested in starting a podcast. Did Josh drag us into doing this, kicking and screaming? Maybe.
But we're so glad you guys did this.
Yeah,
I don't think of myself as super fun. I thought like, let's do something educational. Let's do something where we can kind of dig into the topics. We're pretty shy, actually.
Yeah, I'm a hermit. Let's see. So Bill Frisbee made a post on the Book of Face earlier. I think it was today or yesterday. What do you think when people approach you? And oh God, what's the punchline? It just left me.
That's the punchline.
No,
that's it.
No, it was freaking brilliant. What was the punchline? No. Anyway, it's basically
This is
came down to I remember. What do you think when people approach you? The audacity, right? It's just like, how dare people approach me? Don't enter my bubble. So for me, being on a podcast is very much out of character. I don't talk to people. I don't conversate with people. It makes me uncomfortable when the person in front of me in line at the store starts conversating with the checkout clerk. I'm just like, could y'all just please stop having this really awkward situation right now? Y'all don't know each other. I don't know what's happening. You're talking about cats and fingernails, and I just want friends. Okay. So
okay.
anyway,
It's okay. You can do it. We did it somehow.
Yes.
And you can do it too. Just take it that one step at a time, and you don't know the results that could come from you taking that little leap of faith, putting in the time, putting yourself out there and giving it a shot. So Caitlin and I, Walt, we just want to encourage you to go for it and, reach out to us. We would love to encourage you on that journey, whatever it is. And try it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Anything I can do, you can do better.
Yes. I would sing, but I sound like I gargled a box of razor blades. So my singing voice doesn't work unless it's cadences, in which case, it works just fine.
I'm sure.
Sorry, I have a mini me rolling around my screen right now. All right. So everybody out there, thank you so much for watching the show. Walt, thank you for coming on, joining us, hanging out. And
I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun.
Awkward on my presentation. No, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better because you make me feel like I want to do better.
Thank you.
So where we can hear you. Okay. Where can our
Tell her if
audience
she comes in front of the screen, she's got to be on the show.
It's true. It's true. She's trying to peek behind. Where can our audience, our listeners, our viewers find you, your work, all that good stuff?
Pretty much anybody can find anything they really need to know if they go to hazardstudio.net. And from there, my email's right at the bottom. Hit me up. Seriously, if somebody wants some advice on video gaming, if you're thinking about getting into art or writing or what have you. The whole reason I started Hazard Studio was because I wanted to see more creative, because we have we have such a divided country right now, and everything is. I cannot believe that cat is picking now to start saying hello.
Yes. Wait, no, everybody be quiet.
Can you hear him?
Yes.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
He's such a dork waffle. But I mean, we have such a divided country right now. Anything we can do to kind of bring people together, that's what Hazard Studio was created for. You guys push the passion, we'll take the risk, right? So you want to learn how to draw, you want to learn how to write, you want to learn how to do layout on a product, you want to put together a podcast, send me an email, let's talk. Because the more passion we can put out there, the more we can progress as a community versus, the alternative, which is just icky and sticky and no fun for anyone.
Alrighty. And with that, to everyone in the live chats, thank you. Oh no, it's changed. YouTube viewers and podcast listeners, thanks for hanging out with us. Big shout out to Anna Johnson, J.R. Handley, Joaquim Oliveira, and Rick Partlow for contributing questions.
Joaquim is actually right down the road from me, so we're going to have lunch.
I really hope I didn't butcher his name. Let us know what you thought about the show in the comments, and show your support with a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button and ding that little bell so you always know when we've got more shows going on. For Lauren Moore, I am Kayleen Williams. Thank you so much for joining us on your writer's journey. I'm going to fall over. Be sure to check us back next week where we're going to talk about some more reading, writing, and everything in between right here on Keystroke Medium's The Writer's Journey. Good night, you guys.
Good night.